Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and welcome. And thank you so much for joining me this evening on In Review, where we look at some of the top news, breaking news, or your news. I like to say your news. What is your news? Instead of we going for the news or the typical thing that everybody want to put out there, we want to go for what is your news. And and tonight, of course, another Thursday night, 5th of the 10th. I mean, as we keep going, we realize that there's a countdown going down for Christmas. Some are in Jamaica enjoying it as if it isn't Christmas. What can I say? And some are here, dreaming that we're in Jamaica. What can I say? And I'm here thinking I'm in New York. People always say, "Where are you, Sylbourne?" I said, "That's my secret, man. I can't tell you what's going to do." But listen, this is start of Black History Month, and Black History Month is let me be clear. Let me be very clear. I'm not really one that get excited over a month for something. I was hesitating a bit a while ago, but I'll be very straight. Yes, for being politically correct, it's always good to celebrate something, and you can add a plus to it. And I believe that yes, it's great for Black History Month, but I have to view that every day should be a Black History. Every time we should be speaking to our children and telling them about our history. And it's not about going all the way back sometimes. It's also talking about the now. It's also talking about those persons who are there in the community who are doing things. Because sometimes with Black history, we're always seeing the same narrative and the same thing each time. But really and truly, I believe that every person 5 years ago, 6 years ago, doing great things, that's a part of Black history as well. And it's not just about the transatlantic slavery movement. It's not just about the atrocities, but also it is about the 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 educative aspect, of course, in that. But also the reason why I coined the topic of a knife in Black empowerment and what is the solution is because I cannot proceed and have a show without looking at the fact that there has been some recent spate of knife crime in the community, and this sort of follow through with the recent incident in Peckham. And then there's one with that young lady there, Eliana, then another one in Brixton, and then a couple of persons say there are others also in different parts of London, and then of course in the world, because even in Jamaica, you have incidents where boys beating up boys because of clocks booty. Is it because the prime minister wear clocks and they don't touch my clocks or so? But there's so many different things. So I believe also that the knife may be, I mentioned, my sound symbolic, but also it's a plays a part in the whole aspect of Black empowerment, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But I'm going to bring bring on my my guest tonight, and I'm bringing on first Mr. Kirit Bedward. How are you, sir? Can you hear me?
I'm fine, thanks, Sylbourne. Nice to be part of your show this evening.
Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kirit Bedward is the managing director of Flaky Cross Group Limited, and I'll be very honest with you. I'm going to be very honest with you. I actually go into the oven and take out my bread. Sorry, I didn't tell you that. And get up my fresh bread. I tend to get the fresh bread. It's just like you go into Linstead or you go into Kingston, my father, and then he would stop somewhere. I forget where it was and get some bread straight off of the oven. So it's a bit similar to that. That's what my father used to do. let me
In
let me bring on a
Newton,
sorry.
Newton.
You are done. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Herbert, you're the one who say you are done. Okay. Yeah, think more
yeah.
yard. I got Herbert Musket, former member of the
Muscat,
JCF.
Muscat.
Yeah, Mushet.
Yeah,
Mushet, yes, yeah. But I must say, Mr. Bedward, you're from London, but where are you? Where are you, boss? Where are you? Where are you now?
Where am I now? I'm currently in Jamaica. I'm currently in Jamaica. This is a long, long, anticipated trip from COVID. Myself and my wife were due to fly out
Yes.
from 2 weeks before COVID happened, and unfortunately, we couldn't do it. So now we just decided to take our trip. So I've been
So
out
this is
here less
your
than 24 hours, but it's absolutely glorious.
wow. So this is your first time back in Jamaica since COVID. Yeah.
My
What
first
up?
trip, my first vacation since
You
COVID. I had to go back on
yeah.
business last year for a
Okay.
short
Okay.
period, but again, that was just
I,
business.
I do wonder if there is a I do wonder if there's a delay. Michelle Clark, how are you? Welcome. And I'll ask you as well if you can listen and if you sense there's a delay from yourself, Mr. Bedward. Do you sense there's a delay when we're speaking, or is it very clear?
No, you're very clear. It's like I'm in the next room to you.
Okay, okay. No, I'm just listening to the response time. But we just work with it. Herbert, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, yes. Um, this is Black History Month. Let's start with that basis there. And I think the last show I had was last week. Uh, Michelle, you said no delay. There's no delay, Michelle. Okay. Last week was not Black History Month, and this week is Black History Month. So let's go. Start with that. What's your take on Black History Month, sir? Herbert.
I
Are you
think
talking to me?
Sir.
I think we have lost the narrative of Black history of who we are. Um, until we can come together as one and stop this black on black crime or attack our black brothers, we won't be able to be celebrating Black History Month with the pride that we're supposed to be celebrating it.
Mm. And correct, Mr. Bedward.
Yes, my view on the subject is that we have to take collective responsibility for the raising of our children. I feel that the children are raised by a village. I mean, I'm 53. When I was growing up, if you did any misdeeds on the street and any of your uncles and aunties, you know what I mean, your parents, friends,
Yeah.
or you know, or distant relatives saw you doing it, you had to fix up quickly because you'd probably get chastised. No, no, definitely get chastised from them. And when you got
Mm.
home, you get chastised even more, if you know what I mean. I think
Yeah.
there's not enough of that now. You know,
Yeah.
we have to take responsibility for what's going on around us as a group of
Yeah.
people, and mainly from the men in our community. The ladies can only
Well,
do so much. These young men, they need guidance.
the men
Mm.
the
Mm.
men have absorbed themselves of that responsibility by not being where they're supposed to be at a particular time. So the women have um, taken control and is doing what the men are supposed to be doing, looking after the children and being the chief bread earner. So until as a man we can step up and say, yes, I'm coming back home, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, then the women will be in control. And we have to listen to what the women say.
Mm. Mm. Before going further, let me just bring in my co-host, Reverend Gary Graham. How are you doing, sir?
Well, it's great to be with you, Sylbourne, once more time. Been a busy day for us,
Yes.
um, funeral and such, but thank the Lord we are able to connect with you guys
Yes.
again.
Well, if it was in Jamaica going to a dance, they said this is a bull assembly. where men come together. But I strongly, I was a friend of mine had said, make sure you have a woman on it. But I said, no, I'm going to have men talking about men because what we're seeing out there in society now needs strong men to speak on issues out there. Gary, you're in Birmingham, but and I've updated. Herbert knows and correct knows that there have been more killings, more knife stabbings in London since the killing of the young lady Eliana, and
Yes.
and it's so important that men stand their ground. And I just use the preface of Black History Month to say this is a time that we have an introspective look at ourselves. You know, but I'm gonna go to before I go. Gary, meet Mr. Breadward, and meet Mr. Mushet.
Moshe.
Mushet,
Hi,
Good
Gary.
Mushet.
How
evening,
you
Mr.
sir.
doing?
Mushet.
Yeah.
I'm
Hi,
good.
Mr. Bedouin. I trust you're
Yes.
all good. Yeah?
Yes, we're all fine.
Yes, fine, thank you.
Yes.
Good.
So yeah. So did you correct? Did you mention already? Did I ask you already about Black History Month? Did I say it to you already? I said it to you already. ask you that question?
No, you didn't. What, you want my take on
Yeah.
Black History Month?
Yes, yes, please. Yes, please. Now,
Well,
yes, your time. And then
my
Garry.
my
Yeah.
view is similar to yours. I feel every day we should be making history. It shouldn't be 1 month, you know. We're here.
Mm,
We're part of our diaspora, part of the culture, the fabric of England and Jamaica. We should be making that point to the young men on the importance of them surviving. And
yes.
you can't be a part of history if you're not here.
Hmm.
Yeah. If you're not here, what do we do?
Yes. Yes. And Garry.
Sylbourne, you know how I feel about this already. Now we've spoken about this many times before.
Mm,
I mean, it's a I think it's a slap in the face for us as black people. I
mm,
mean, Mr. Bedward, I wasn't here when Mr. Michette um, commented on it, but hearing what Mr. Bedward said,
mm,
we've been a part of or the black people, black persons, black men, black women have been a part of this society from in the early probably 40s, 50s, and probably even longer before that.
mm,
Uh, why why are we now being given 1 month out of 12 months to say it's our month? As far as I'm concerned, every day of the year, it's our time, and we have always contributed to this society. We've made the British Empire what it is today,
mm,
with the blood, sweat, and tears of our forefathers and our grandparents and parents. And we here have continued to do the same. So why in the last couple of years now is it being said that we are going to have 1 month to say Black History
mm.
Month?
It-
No, no,
yeah.
no.
If I do set the stage, the event began in the USA in 1920 and was first celebrated in the UK in 1987. Also take place in Canada, Germany, and Ireland. And it was the brainchild of a Carter J.G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history. Born in Virginia in 1875, the parents were former slaves. He had limited access to education and job opportunities, but he was able to study at one of the few high schools for Black students after saving money earned by working as a coal miner. So I think the essence of the whole thing came from creating access um, to Black people following from the slavery period at that time, and I feel like there was a high level of inequality. So so in a way, it is appreciated, but really and truly, if one looks at it for 1 month of the year, then people just sort of laid back and just waiting for the 1 month instead of continuing continuously. Herbert, with your studies,
Yes,
what's your take in a sense in regards to it? Because I believe there's a psychological thing at the same time.
I, I think um, I think we are not united enough to say
Mm,
we're going to take our rightful place in society. Because while we're talking about it, there are others on the outside saying, "Is all that necessary? Is it all that necessary?" And I think if we take that approach, we will continue to lose our ground in society, and the legacy that we built, we can break it down ourselves by not playing our active part in it. So I think being a student of criminology, um, we need to take a retrospective look at our actions and
mm,
see where we have gone wrong and how we can correct it going forward.
yeah. Why do we and I like to look at solutions, and it's the reason why I say is there a knife in black empowerment, because we're talking about there's two sprongs to it. Because yes, we're going to talk about the knife crime and why black men, why are we talking about, why are they doing this, but then at the same time we're going to look at another parallel action as to why do we also allow or supply or purchase so much from industries which we are the ones that give them life. Yeah, for argument's sake, like the hair, for example, like the chicken and all those sort of things. Why we find ourselves in this situation, and every year, Black History Time, there's lots of celebration, people getting eat a food time, but we're missing out on a trick. And so let's talk about Kara, let's talk about knife crime. Let's talk about this epidemic which is going on, and we can't seem to we can't keep trying to push it aside because other races will come and say that's all you guys are good for.
You hear
Yeah.
that sigh of despair?
Yes.
Where does one begin? The first thing I say is we have to take ownership of this. We have to. That's number
Mm,
one. We have to take ownership. You know, it's not something that anyone would relish, you know, but if we don't start from somewhere, this will go on into my grandchildren and my great grandchildren time. You know, this is a problem that should have been dealt with from the generation before, and they
yeah.
didn't do it for whatever the reason. We're here now. We have to make a stand. We have to make a difference. It's got to start from somewhere. You know, these children are without guidance. They're looking for validation from the wrong places, and that is what is
Yeah.
causing the problem. If you have a strong father figure, it doesn't have to be your father, it could be an uncle, could be a relative, could be even your
Yeah.
pastor or a neighbor who steps in and have a sit down and talk and reason with these children and show them a different way. Even sometimes it could be a peer who could say to
Yeah.
someone, look, you know, what you're doing is not right. Just somebody that's influential in their life that they can look at and say,
Yeah.
look, this course of action is not going to end well. So what can we do to help change it? You know, unless we do things like that, nothing is going to change, right? We have to have to start taking action and trying to rescue the next generation. Otherwise, there won't be another generation.
What would you say then is an immediate solution while we're going on to the long-term solution, because it is happening out there. For argument's sake, the killing in Brixton, I understand that it was a reprisal killing. And if you're a reprisal killing because of a gang issue, then more than likely there's going to be a
I took
continue.
a ripple effect.
Yeah. So how would you say is the solution then in the short term in dealing with it?
I think
Right.
we should encircle ourselves. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, correct. Yeah, and then I go to Mush
No, you
Herbert.
go. You go on. You go on. You go on.
Correct. Yeah. Oh,
You want
okay.
to
Go
speak?
Herbert.
Yeah, I think we should encircle ourselves with people who tell us what we need to hear and not what we want to hear. Because
Thank you.
if you
You
go
said
to
it
the
better than me
doctor,
because that's exactly what I was going to say.
Mm, yeah.
if if we go to the doctor and we're feeling sick, the doctor is not going to give us medicine that tastes good,
Mm,
but something that can make us better. So for the men who have their friends and all they want to do is go to the pub or go to the nightclub and hold a vibe instead of saying, dude, you need to go home to your children.
mm.
You need to know what your children is doing. It
Thank
will
you.
not get any better.
And correct. You're
Yes,
saying
back on me
yeah.
now. Look,
Mm,
raising, whoever said raising children was easy? My mother was a single mother. She had four of us. And it wasn't until, I mean, I'm married, I've got two sons, and my wife and myself are raising the two boys. And I'll tell you, I have to really take my hat off to my mum for the job that she did with us because it was extremely difficult with two people. Could you imagine just one person trying to do that?
mm.
Children, by their nature, are manipulative, especially when they get into the teenage years. They know which buttons to press, what they can get away with, what they can't get away with. They will often times play one parent off against the other. So even if the father is not living with the mother, they still have to play an active role in their children's lives. And
Correct.
there has been times in my life, I'm speaking from my own experience, where my wife might have chastised one of my sons, and I didn't quite like what she did and the way that she did it. But I'll tell you one thing, I never ever undermined her. You know, if she said that was that, then that was that, and vice versa, because then they knew that, yes, there are boundaries that can't be crossed. And
Mm.
children, by their nature, they push boundaries. That's what they do. That's how they learn. Yeah,
Yeah.
they always pushing the boundary. So, you know, this thing is just really, it's just backfired basically, because they're pushing the boundary and there's no one there to say, as Mr. Mouchette was saying, tell them no, or tell them some truths that they're not really going to like to hear. Yeah,
Mm.
there has to be somebody there to set boundaries, and
Yeah.
that is the problem. That's where it's got to start from.
Yeah. Gary, I know we talk about this a lot of time, but while we're in the subject and we are targeting on this particular issue here, men in the homes with the boys, the leadership, the mentor, who they look up to, you know, that's one of the issues, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a crucial to me. It's a crucial issue, and it's a very important issue. 2 points I want to I'm saying here. Number one, I think that, as you pointed out earlier, you read and you gave us history
Yeah.
um, on Black History Month, and it's mainly coming from an American point of view.
Perspective. Yeah.
Now, or perspective. Now, historically, the black man in America and the black man in the US and the UK, it's two histories.
Mm.
Even though there may have been segregation and and racism that may be alike, but to me, I think it's two different things, two different societies. And it would always seem to me that the UK is always
The UK, Gary? Uh,
It's
Gary, we lost
frozen.
for frozen for a second, Gary. Let me see if I can get him back. Gary? Okay, he will come back. I think what he was picking up is that the UK is some. I think what I know what he was going to say. The UK is behind. Is always follow back of the USA. you
Yeah,
know.
but
Yeah, they're
it
behind the
shouldn't
curve.
be that way,
Ga-
because
one second. I'm gonna say, Gary, are you back? Okay, okay. He will come back shortly. Yeah. Sir
yeah,
Herbert, go ahead.
yeah, I'm saying it shouldn't be that way, because we're both victims of the same atrocities,
Yes.
right? It shouldn't be that one country is the lead and one just follow because of style. If we're going to follow, make sure that we know what we're getting into before we start. If we don't start.
Yeah. Can I just bring this point here that someone said? I've got to also have persons who comment. African diaspora business and travel said these guys are just beating around the edges. No real clarity on the problem. Reparation is the only solution. Only solution. Can't you all see a common problem?
I don't agree with
What you
that. I don't agree
what's
with
your
that.
take on
I
that?
don't agree with that.
I
Okay.
don't agree
I-
with that. I don't agree with
Okay.
that. I don't agree with that. How would that
Okay.
solve the problem? Please tell me how that is going to solve the problem.
Yeah. African diaspora
In fact,
business
it
and
might
travel.
exacerbate it.
Please, yeah. Please tell us how is that going to solve the problem? Because I know a lot of people talk
Uh,
about reparation, but does that mean to say you sit back and just wait for things to come to you eventually? Is it?
Let me give you an
Yeah,
example.
exactly.
Mm. Go for it.
When I was in the JCF, a leader from Africa, Jerry Rawlings, came
Yeah.
to Jamaica on a state visit, and the Rastafarian community was clamoring for a meeting with him,
Mm.
and he gave it to them, right?
Yeah.
And I remember he told them, if you're coming to Africa, Don't just come because because you're coming to Africa, but come with a trade, come with something to put on the table. And that was the end of that discussion.
Yes, yes.
So reparation for me isn't the solution, because everybody's talking about reparation. Yes, we all go to flood Africa, but what are we going with? Are we going to uplift Africa, or are we going to take away from what they have?
Yeah. Okay, Garry, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Probably somebody is listening to me and don't like me, so they're turning me off.
Well, he's not Rishi. He's not Rishi used to cut us off, but he's not Rishi this time.
Bravo, man.
Probably
Yeah.
probably somebody else in the conservative government, man. But anyway,
Well,
no. No, I mean, what I want to finish up on saying really is that the UK, the black community in the UK seems to be always picking up pieces from the US community, black community, and try to adopt it and bring it into the UK economy or community, which of course, okay, that's fine to some extent, but I think that we've done it wrong. I think we're doing things wrong. Secondly, I believe that the black community in the UK, from wherever you are, wherever West Indies, Africa, wherever you may be from, I believe that what to me what is happening is that we are taking on the culture of the British, and we're not holding on to our cultures. We're not holding on to these things. For instance, I hear what Mr. Bedwood has said. Mothers, I don't know how old his mother is or was, but I would want to say that mothers in his day, in his time, mothers in my time, in my day, they were strong women. They were strong. They knew what discipline was. And it may have been very difficult for her or for them, even with fathers in the home, but they knew what was what, and they would not allow their sons or their daughters to dictate to them what would come in over the threshold of that front door when they came in from school or wherever they may have come from. They were strong. They knew what discipline was. They knew what
Mr.
and
Sir,
the children
you hit the
knew
nail.
the children knew huh? The children
You hit the nail on
knew
the head.
what the parents sorry the children knew what
Yes.
the parents were up to. They knew it. Now
Yeah.
what we have then decided, us, I would say our generation, some of them, is that we have then rebelled and said, I'm not growing up my children like how my mother grew me.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's number one. And then number two is that we've allowed the government, probably 20, 30, 40 years back, I don't know the time scale it was, but I remember quite clearly, the government then was allowed to come into the home by way of the children and dictate to the parents
Yeah.
what they were allowed to do. We couldn't chastise them. We
Yeah.
can't talk to them. Then we
Yeah.
give them a child
25
that
years.
they can
25 years ago.
talk to them rough or
And
whatever.
and and Garry, just as you said that a while ago, someone on TikTok just said you're right. However, parents are now scared of social services. That's where you're going to, Garry, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
the parent. You see what
Keep
has to be
going,
made
keep going. I'm
clear.
just excuse myself. Well, keep talking, guys.
I think what we've got to be quite clear on, perfect, and I made it quite clear with my children. I said, listen, I'm willing to go to prison for them. because there was no way
That's
that
exactly what I said to my son.
Well,
my three girls and my son, I was not going to allow anybody to come to my front door to tell me what I on how I must grow my children. Because when they
No,
leave, the problem is that when they go through these doors and they do what they want, they cause havoc in the community. And then who then do they come back to blame or to
it still
cast
reflects on
blame
you.
or to ask for problem? They come back to
well,
us.
It
I
still
think
It's
reflects
right
on
back
you.
to the
Yeah.
father and the mother they come
Okay,
back to.
1 second. Okay, Gary. Thanks for that bit. I'm gonna bring in Karite and then Herbert. Karite, you're saying because you're jumping in, want to come in at this point here with Gary. What Gary was saying.
Listen, sorry to interrupt you, sir, but
That's all right.
you hit the nail on the head. When this
No problems.
the young lady that passed away in Croydon,
Yes.
my wife's office overlooks where this incident happened, and she was quite horrified when she came home and explained to me what happened and so on and so forth. And my youngest son, the eldest one is away at university. The youngest one is in his final year of his A level, so then going to university. He sat at the table, looked at myself and my wife, and said, he shook his head and said, "Dad, to be honest with you, I have to hold that boy's parents accountable, you know,
correct.
because if that was me or my brother, we couldn't come to you and tell you anything like that. You know,
Mm,
this this kid knew what he was doing, and obviously there were no consequences. That's why he felt like he could do what he did. You know, if he
mm,
had to think, oh, I'm gonna have to answer the dad or mum, or there's a people who I'm gonna have to be accountable to, he wouldn't have done that. And that is half of the problem. That is probably more than half of the problem. Yeah.
yes.
You cannot let your children frighten you and tell you about, oh, I'll call this and call that. They can call who they want. You think my children never said that to me when they were growing up? They tried that. Of course they're going to try that. Children push boundaries. That's what they do. It's down to you not to fold as a parent. You know, when I'll tell them what my parents told me. When I put the lid, you go and get somebody to take it off. And you know what the worst thing is? I have never hit my boys. I never had to. I never had to. It's just the discipline, the firmness. I never had to resort to that. They just knew what time it was. Yeah, because
Right.
I can't be their friends. I can only be their father. I cannot be their friend. Yeah, I'll never. I told them I'll
That's
never
the
be your
point.
friend. Cannot be your friend.
That,
I have to be your
that's
father.
what. Yeah, that's what
You know.
Michelle said earlier. That's what Michelle said
That's the
earlier.
point.
They want parents want to be friends with their children.
Yeah.
Herbert.
Um, when I work in two jurisdictions, two Caribbean jurisdictions, and I've gone to reports where the son is fighting the father for cigarettes. The son is 15 fighting his father for cigarettes.
Mm,
Now, when you get to that point, something has gone wrong. Something is wrong, and it cannot be controlled. So, as parents, as adults, as Black people, we need to set boundaries. We need to control the friends that our children keep. And once we can do that, I think we'll be able to claw back our children from the evils of the society.
one of the things that we learn as children is also, and it's in the Bible as well. Am I correct, Gary? Be your brother's keeper, your sister's keeper, or something like that. Looking out for your friends. This particular girl, Eliana, was there looking after her friend, um, and she was stabbed. How are we? How would you then advise? And people might be listening sometime. How would you advise parents now to advise their children? You see, if your friend is getting beat up or something like that. What do you say to them? Run away, go a yard, or something like that? Because we see what happened very clearly there. Gary,
That
want
is
to
a
jump in first?
difficult one.
Who want to jump in first? Put your
It's
hand up.
I,
Yes.
yes. I
I can tell you, I can tell that that's not the first. It won't be the last. I've, because of my line of work in the past, I've gone to numerous incidents where people are defending people didn't have anything to do with it, but they are the one that suffer. This won't be the last. And until the parents can start communicate with other children's parents to find out what their children are up to inform them what's going on,
Yeah.
this will continue to happen.
So what you're saying is that the village need to arise, whereby
Yes,
people get to know, because parents. I mean, I grew up in Jamaica. I grew up in Ocherius, and you walk down the road in Ocherius or so, you have to be careful, because more than likely somebody's gonna tell your parents if you're misbehaving,
that's
and
right.
you worry about
Correct.
that,
Correct.
and they
That's
will
correct.
reprimand you. I remember one day I was walking in Ocherius and I had my hat turned backwards. My father, he drive buses, tourists, and he stopped the bus, and it wasn't him who said anything. It was his friend in the back saying, "Boy, turn the hat around." He just let his friend say that, and you know the score, because the the village was very active. Can parents or adults say anything to children now, to say,
No,
who was telling me something earlier about stopping, and was it they stopped the vehicle and told the guys them to go back into school? I don't know if it was you,
That
correct,
was
or
me. That
Herbert.
was me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I
Explain
was
what
saying to
you're
you that,
saying earlier. Yeah,
I grew up
yeah.
in all right then. I grew up I came to this country when I was 7 years old. I spent all of my formative years, in this country. I went to elementary school here, high school here, college here. I grew up here, right? Well, when I say here, I mean in England. And I can tell you, we were raised by the village. If you, number one, you couldn't be walking down the street and eating food in the street. If one of your parents, your aunts or uncles or something, one of your parents' friends saw you doing that, you get chastised from them. Then when you got home, you get chastised. You know what I mean by chastised, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Get
Weren't
beaten.
telling off. Yeah, right. Yeah. For just for doing
Yes.
that. One day, I never really played truant at school, but one day, yeah, about six of us decided that we were going to play truant. Now, my old high school had two 10-foot fences about 10 meters apart. You had to scale, as a little kid, you had to scale these 10-foot fences, come over the other
Mm.
side, and then scale the next one, come out to go outside. As we got outside, one of those guys I was with, elder brother, driving a black BMW, I can't forget that, stopped the car in the middle of the road, opened the door, got out, and just said, "Get back in school." You know what? Not a word from any one of us. We turned around, climbed back over the fence while he watched, all of us, and the second fence while he watched, and went back to school. Can you imagine trying to say that to a teenager now?
no, you
Mm.
can't. Because the first thing, no offense to Gary or the grandparents watching or listening, but the grandparent is going to intervene and defend their grandchildren.
Mm.
You see, again, the thing about it is this, that if you've got parents who will not even, if you talk to one of their children in a corrective manner, they will come against you and
Correct.
tell you, don't talk to my child like that in front of the child. So when the
Correct.
child sees that, when the child sees
They're
that from a
empowered.
parent, exactly. Now,
It
I
empowers
mean,
them.
I was in Leeds just last week. I was
Yeah.
up there, and somebody said to me that there was an incident with a parent in her home. Some guys had come to her home to accost her son or her child, and the child must have had these, the zombie knives. I didn't know that
Yeah.
these zombie knives were so lethal. But anyway, it transpired that the mother got the knife from her child and attacked the boys with the knife, and she had done some damage and is now in prison. You see, the thing about it is that these parents, the parents of today, some of them, they're not making the situation any better. If anything, they are reinforcing what their children are doing out there and making situations bad. Now, in answer to your question, or the question that was raised, you see, to react to a situation, instead of being proactive, we are now having to be reactive. But in being reactive, somehow that horse has gone through the gate, and it's going to be very
Correct.
difficult.
Correct. Pull
So,
it back.
so when we then have to be telling our children, our sons or our daughters to say, well, if you see something happening at school, or when you're leaving the school gate and you see something going on, what else can you say but run away, don't get involved? That's what I would be saying. Don't get involved, because we see the effects of what happens when, as I think it was Mr. Muchetti said, that it is the one who is innocent, the one who's trying to bring the peace,
Yes.
they're the ones that's being hurt or killed.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter what is done or what anybody tries to bring. This problem in London right now, the problem in London, in Brixton, in Croydon, the problem in Birmingham, the problems in Leeds, in Bristol, in Nottingham, that's happening and is going to happen. These things are going to happen. What can we really do? Even though our community can raise the stakes or get into meetings or whatever, I don't know what type of meeting is going to have to take place in order to stop what is happening on the streets right now.
Well,
what has to happen?
Yeah.
One thing, Sil.
Yeah,
What
go ahead.
really needs to happen? What I really believe needs to happen. It's got to start from the home, It has to start from the home. These fathers that are running around the place, having children and not taking any care, any kind of standard. And the mothers also, that I think are at their wits' end, because the money is coming into the front door. It's helping to pay the bills. It's helping to pay the gas bill and the light bill. Them not working enough. But when the son is bringing in £1,000 a week,
the Correct.
Illicit deal.
Correct.
She don't want to tell her. No, she don't want to tell him stop bringing it in, because it's helping her to put food on the table. And then when he sees that, it only encourages him to say, "You don't tell me what to do, because it's me bring the money in here." So there's no discipline. There's no discipline.
Someone said there. I posted it. It was from Milverton Hyde, and they were talking about the knife issues. And they said in Jamaica, small farmers and others in the rural communities walk around with knives and machetes, yet we hardly hear of any killing involving such implements. In many European countries and even in many states of the USA, we do not hear people shooting people just like that. The possession of a cutting tool or weapon by itself does not cause people to resort to it when they're angry. I went to school in Jamaica, and the majority of students carried knives, but they were hardly ever having this thing. The mentality and the psyche of the whole thing, the alternative dispute resolution, whereby people find it the lack of tolerance, Herbert. That's one of the problems. And some are saying also that it is the impact of COVID as well. Everybody's trying to find some sort of answers. You know what I mean? What do you
don't
say
blame
about
COVID. Don't blame COVID.
Don't blame COVID
It's our inability to have a healthy dialogue, both adult and children, that is causing this problem now.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's coming back from our forefathers, right? That's why Jamaica is, I think, number 2 in the world when it comes to number of murders committed per capita, right? The refusal to have dialogue.
Mm.
And until we can start having healthy dialogue, not talking about a pair of clocks or some music or something, but issues. Because Sylbourne, you and your friends used to talk about issues when you were young. I did the same, and I'm almost certain Gary and Kurt did the same. We all did,
Mm.
right? And we thought we could solve the world's problem in 10 minutes.
Mm.
But now, with the advent of smartphones, where it was things was always happening, but with
Yes.
the advent of smartphones, now it is now out there in the open. Every street in Jamaica and here has become a major highway because of someone has a smartphone. Instead of
Everyone.
trying to help someone, they're videoing it, trying to see how many likes it can get, right?
Mm.
So my thing is, we need to get back to basic, get back to respecting seniors, get back to respecting your teachers, your police officers, which is hard to do because the same children that grow up not respecting a police officer is himself a police officer today.
Mm.
What do you think is going to happen?
One of the big question is always, how do these all this happen? How do we start the process? Is it like you say some children they're gone and then you start to work on what is there? I mean, I was watching the show Top Boy. Can realize I don't watch it that much. Top Boy. And I do recognize, and I remember one time in the show, there's a girl, a lady, who was upset with the gangsters because they were bringing her son into this whole thing. And I believe that girl got involved with Duchesne eventually, and she was gonna get him to buy some property with her or buy some air business with her. So after a while, she somehow forget the fact that this guy is a bad guy. You know what I'm trying to say? But capitalizing on the funds factor as well. And in that same show, what I did not see was any strong black men of any eldership type that is forming some sort of camaraderie in the sense that can speak to the young men. What you had were the bad boys at the top. Is it that we as elders, that's where we are? I remember when I became 50, my principal of of the school I used to go to, York Castle High School, who was my classmate, he's a principal, and he said, guys, many years ago, when your parents used to take you to school, you guys, we used to all call them elders. Can I just say to you guys now that you're all now elders? And we all started cussing by saying, oh, stop telling us about our age. But the point was that we're now elders sitting at the gate. What are we doing in the sense, if the children are of such disposition, then doesn't it reflect on the eldership that we have
Yes,
allowed that
yes,
yeah,
yes,
correct? What do you say? I mean, we got our children,
Listen,
but
that's
we
what
got
I
a
said.
community.
That's what I said.
Mm.
That's what I meant when I said we have to take responsibility. That's what I mean by that. We have to take
Yeah,
responsibility. If we don't start doing that now, where's it going to start from?
yeah. So the big question, and Gary, I'm sure you agree with this because we said so many times. How do we? Because I did not want to talk about this and just be a reactive or a reaction to it, because I hear many people saying, like some guys came on and say, we're going down to Brixton, man, 100 men strong to stand up down there. And a colleague of mine was talking and say, you don't need 100 men to stand up down in Brixton. You need 100 men to go into the house and start to talk to the parents, talk to these boys. And the fact of the situation is that one of the things I always pick up is that a lot of guys, and they might watch this, might who are in the know, and them said them are the man, them and stuff like that. We know what go on. I said, then if you know what go on, then go inside and stop what go on.
no, but The thing is, Silver,
Yeah.
it comes down to, I would say, a bit of over policing kind of thing. It's
Yes.
a circle, right?
Mm.
And I'm almost certain that a police officer walked past you today without even saying hello.
Yeah.
But if you were anywhere near that murder scene last week,
Mm.
they would have come to you to say, did you see anything? What can
Mm.
you tell us?
Yes.
And my sentiments are, until the police can bring back that level of stability in the community, let us have that human touch
Mm.
where if something happened, you know exactly who you're going to talk to.
Yes.
No matter how we try as a civilian community, it's not going to happen.
So you're speaking from a ex-cop perspective.
Yes.
Mm. And
You cannot have
mm.
a black community being policed by a majority white police force.
Mm.
There's a disconnect there.
Mm. But at the same time, you've got
You're right.
whenever they're encouraging black persons to get into the police force, you have other forces who are saying it's too racist. Don't join the force at the same time. So are we defeating ourselves at the same time?
Yes, we are. We are. We have
Correct.
to go against the stereotype.
Yes. Correct. So you say what you're saying, boss.
Whenever whenever I go out and I see
Your voice drop. Did you
or
change your earpiece or something like that?
stuff,
Your high level earpiece? Your voice drop. I can't. Or you have to speak a bit louder.
no,
Yeah.
I dropped the other one and I didn't want to come out a shot to pick it up. I dropped the other one. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
We can hear you, but we may have to lift your
Can you hear
voice a
me?
bit. Yeah. Sorry. We can hear you, but lift your voice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're saying.
When you lift my voice after I speak, just drop me out the shot and I'll go and pick up my earpiece.
Yeah.
Right? What I'm saying is, right, whenever I see an officer of an ethnic persuasion, I always make sure they know that I appreciate what they're doing. Yeah, it's
Yes.
important, right? Because it's difficult enough to be a policeman in Jamaica, Mr. Machete, much less here in London. You're fighting against racism in the force and your own people at the same time. And yet, it's a chicken and egg situation. Until we get enough of our own people in there, nothing is ever going to change.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have to encourage them to do that job. As difficult as it is for things to change, it has to start from somewhere.
Yeah. We got so ladies and gentlemen, one of the things is that in order to be the change, you've got to also, in order to see the change, you've got to also be a part of the change factor inside
Of
there.
course. Of
You know,
course.
you know, when we talk about this, there's something else. I know we're running near to the hour, but I couldn't help but link this and help me, guys, who can link this. In the hair industry in the UK, the black hair industry, we have seen whereby the majority of persons that go to these hair shop are black women, and these are run by Asian men. When we see the chicken business, which is very popular in street corners and everywhere in the UK, the majority of persons that go there are black persons, and they're owned not by black people as well. You know what is this saying? Also, that's why I call it the knife in the black empowerment. Is it that it's everything all linked to a certain way where we have to rethink our focus on where we are going to bring some level of sort of empowerment and some leadership? Is there a lack of leadership?
Um, I think that knife in the black empowerment
Yeah.
is with it lies with us as black people,
Mm.
right? Because if you have a shop for yourself,
Yes.
you will find your own black man walk past you to another ethnic shop, but he's not stopping at yours.
Yep.
And until they can support your shop as a black man,
Mm.
because they don't want to get too rich, so they walk past it to the other shop. Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I just
Correct.
want to make
Oh, did
one.
I didn't take you out of shot for you to change your phone. You don't have to,
No, no.
I don't have to take you out of
Take
shot.
me
You
out
can
of
go.
shot, man.
You can't even go into the beach,
All
because
right.
you're in
Let me
Jamaica. You
quickly
can
go
go and
and
swim.
pick it up.
You can go and swim and come
All
back.
right.
Go to the water and come back here. Gary, the point that I raised there about all of it linking together and looking at the bigger picture, and it's never too late. It's never too late. Yeah, Gary.
It's never too late. I think valid points have been made regarding this. And I think that, I mean, number one, I think what we've got to really drill home is that number one, it starts in the home. I think it's got to start there. It's got to be encouraged. Even though, for instance, I have a son,
Yes.
and as he grew, I mean, I stood by him. Whenever he had his problems in school, I turned up at the school with him because I needed him to know that, listen, he has a father, and the school needed to know that he has a father, that they're not going to get away with whatever they wanted to do with him,
Yes.
because some foolishness did go on with my son, and I had to go up there and really go on bad in the sense to say, well, if you don't change your attitude towards my son, then I'm willing to go to Channel 4 and ITV with it and blow up your name and the school, because I'm not going to stand my son comes to school to learn, not to be
Yes.
isolated. So
Yes.
my son needs to hear that and know that I'm with him. At the same time, my son needs to know that in the society in which he's a part of, which was here in the UK, that being black, he could have a friend who is the same age as him. He's white, but he may not have to really study and hit the grades that he needs to get in order to survive. I needed to let him know that he's carrying a baggage that other white boys of his age are not carrying. It's not that it was given to him by me, but society has placed something on him that he needs to be aware of, that when he is accosted by various attitudes, he's got to know how to overcome these. That's what
Yes.
we've got, and not overcome it violently and ignorantly, because that's what society here expects black
Correct.
boys to be.
Correct.
For instance, um, when an officer stops a black boy, he expects that black boy to raise his voice. He expects him to fling his arms all over the place. He expects him to retaliate. When the black boy, yes, begins to speak like him, when he begins to articulate words like him, that white police officer don't know where to put himself, because
Yes.
he's
No,
not
no.
expecting him to react in that way at all. And I think that is the level that we need to reach, so that when these, and it's sad that we have to be saying white officers and white people and white men and all of that, because there are some very good, I mean, I grew up in Jamaica. I went to school there, and some of my best friends were white. But the thing about it, they didn't see themselves more superior than me. And in fact, they probably saw themselves as black and not white. But here, the thing about it, to get by sometimes and to make a distinction, we need to put these things in black and white, really, that our and especially black boys. Now, I don't want to label the black boys and not label our black girls, because they're equal to some extent, and I believe that they ought to be treated the same. But society doesn't see it that way.
Yes.
Society looks on black men as as um, um,
Threat sometimes.
as a threat.
Yes.
They look at black men as threat. They don't see black women in the same way as they see a black boy
Yes.
and that's a fact. There's a lot of black women who may argue that point, but I would always want to argue that black boys are always a threat to the white man. And that is why they do what they do to the black boys. That is why when they do the strip search or the stop and search, they're not stopping and searching black girls or black women. They're not doing that. They're stopping searching black boys, you know, because again, what we don't understand and what we fail to see is that when, um, when the drugs come in, and a great amount of the drugs, and there may be some data out there that may that could probably give us a little bit more data on that. But when the drugs come in by other means, who is out there selling them? Who is out there really on the street corners selling these drugs? It's the black boys. It's not the black man that's bringing in the drugs. I'm not convinced that it is the wholesale drugs that the black people are bringing in. Yes, you may get a few coming in on British Airways and Virgin or that through Heathrow or through Gatwick. But I guarantee you that most of the drugs that's coming into this country, it's not the black man that's bringing it in. But yet it's the black man that is the one that is being arrested. We are the ones that's being thrown into jail. We are the ones that's bearing the cost. So what we've got to understand, right, that even in the role of being a police officer, when our black boys are going into these roles, we've got to encourage them, not just say you're a coconut or you're aiding and abetting the white man.
You're a sellout. A lot of the terms they'll say you're a sellout or they remove your black card sometimes and it intimidate a lot of black
I mean,
men
that's
from
not
going into
right.
areas.
It's not fair. It's not fair. I mean,
Can-
when our black boys, it's also Sylbourne, and I don't know if Mr. Bedouin and Machette would agree with this, but sometimes these men in society, they don't believe that black boys can be judges. They don't believe that black boys can be doctors. They don't believe black boys can be lawyers and men who work honestly.
Yeah.
The only thing that they think that black boys can do is do the 100-meter dash and sell a drug
Yeah.
in order to buy a BMW.
Well,
And that is further from the
Thanks,
truth.
Gary. I want to go to Mr. Bedward. Before your hearing went. Thanks, Gary, for that. That is a very valid point because you said a couple of things there as well in regards to the strip and search or the searching of young boys and I would say in public, because right there and then it flashed back on something which I didn't experience, but I read about it, whereby when they want to actually intimidate or put pressure on a black community in those slavery days, they rape the man right in the public in front of everybody,
yeah,
so that you're a boy, and then every other man that sees that knows that, and therefore the men or the leaders, and normally they do for the strong men, and then you get some guy will do it, one of the slave masters, and that is something I believe psychologically has impacted the black community still, and we have to stand up and actually show ourselves strong in regards to those things and those psychological things. But I want to go to Mr. Bedouin before I go to Herbert. You're saying something else. I can't remember the exact point, but you wanted to say something further from what Gary said. I hope you have that point there.
I do have that point.
Good,
The
good,
point that you
good.
raised was about the Asian people selling our
Yes,
products. Number one,
yes,
you can't
yes,
blame those guys. I don't hold nothing against them. Let me
yes.
just make this point, and I want everybody here and everybody listening to think about this one thing, right? Look at Ukraine. White
Mm,
people are fighting white people. They are willing to sacrifice the price of oil, electricity, gas to help themselves. Why can't we sacrifice to help ourselves?
mm,
Why?
mm,
Yes, if you buy grocery from a black person, you might get it a little bit more expensive. I mean, I've got a bakery. There's a Iraqi guy who owns another West Indian bakery, and he will sell the bread maybe 20, 30% cheaper than me. Yeah. But it's rubbish. There's nothing in it, and the weights are short, so you're
Keep talking.
shortchanging the people anyway. They're not looking at that like that. They're saying, "Oh, that one's cheaper. That one's cheaper. So why can't you sell it that cheap?" I said, "Listen, you don't get if you plant corn, you want to go. You can't want to reap peas. If you plant corn,
Yeah.
you're gonna get corn, and if you sow peas, you're gonna get peas, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I can't make a quality product by shortchanging you. I have to put all the ingredients that need to go into that
So I'm
product
sure
to make it that way.
I'm showing my bread,
Yeah.
which I get from
That's
Mr. Bedward's shop.
there you go.
And just to
Yes.
say that I go into
No,
the
but
bakery and pick
that's the
up my
point
bread.
I'm trying to make, and they don't.
So go on.
Yes, sir,
Sorry,
of course.
I interrupted.
No, but the thing is, right? We have to be willing to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to make sacrifices. Yes. If I want to help one of my compatriots, I'm going to have to pay a little bit more on ingredients like flour, maybe 10% cheaper than what I currently pay for it. But if I did that, the quality wouldn't be as good. So I don't mind paying a little bit more for the ingredients so I can make a quality product for my people. You see where I'm coming from? Because it's my people that are eating that product.
Yeah.
If it's, I'm an Asian guy and I'm selling it and it's not my family's not eating it, my friends are not eating it, my relatives are not eating it, I don't care. I have to care. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. We eat so much fried chicken. We eat more fried chicken than anyone else. I think somebody said to me that there's one fried chicken shop in London that was owned by a black person. And there's got to be maybe 3,000 or 4,000 fried chicken shops in London. One is owned by a black person. Yeah. What you tend to find is if you are doing a cook shop, West India restaurant, and another black person sees you doing well, they'll try and open one 2 doors away from you. Instead of saying, let me open a dry cleaner. So yeah, we're getting our bread from Mr. Bedward. We're getting our dry cleaning from Mr. Machette. We're getting our groceries from Mr. Graham. So let me provide meat, fresh meat, so that we can get our meat from Mr. Sydial. You see what I mean? Yeah. No, they want to look at what you're doing and do the exact same thing. It's just a crab in a barrel mentality, and we need to get out of that. We need to get out of that. That's why the black pound only stays in our community a matter of minutes, not even days or hours. Everyone else can keep their pound in their community, and it goes around, and that in turn helps with youth projects and helps to support the community, the elderly, etc. What do we do?
And you're speaking from a direct experience of what you're doing, because we had a discussion briefly, and we discussed about a particular bakery is planning to close down in London, and I was going to bring it to your attention, but you already had it in your mind to go and have a chat with these guys to see if we can do something, because what can happen is that we keep losing out.
That's right.
On
To
these
see if I can
key areas, yeah. I want to wrap up. But I tell you what I want to wrap up on, and I want this sort of conversation to continue. And ladies and gentlemen, don't be offended if they only see men, but I think it's very important that men speak and show these areas of leadership. Can I just ask, in growing up as a young man, I know we're all getting younger still at the same time. What was it like with your family or the men around you? Whether your parents were married or what was it like? Were you around drugs? Were you around ganja? Were you around fighting and all those sort of things? How comes you're maybe around these things and you went through? I don't know. Should I go to the minister first, or should I go to Mr. Bedward first? I'll let the minister finish last.
Let me finish last.
Listen, well,
yeah.
From my experience, I may have been raised in the UK, but I can tell you it's been very much an old school way of doing things. You know, much in the same way that you tell me you were walking down the street wearing your hat backwards and you were pulled, to task. It was the same for me here. I can tell you that for free. We had to be mindful of how we behaved when we went outside, because we were representing our parents. So anything we did was a reflection on them. We had to bear that into mind, as I'm sure you did when you were growing up in Jamaica.
But what about the men around you at the same time? This is something which is so crucial. What about the men around you while you're growing up? Were they influential men, or were you into seeing a movie star somewhere, someone far apart, or some were these men around you influential in your life? Yeah.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to
Is
Mr.
that for
Bedward.
me?
Yeah. I'm back. I'm still at you, Mr. Bedward, and then I go to the other persons. Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That one there. Now, let me try and think about that and answer that as honestly as I can. Yes, there were some influential figures. Could you add elders around you who were influential to the extent that they never would walk past and see you doing something that they knew clearly was wrong and condone it? They never did.
Mm.
No matter what, they would not up with that. They would not put. And you were told in no uncertain terms.
Yes.
I think that's what's missing now.
So what we are picking up as well is that you don't have men feeling that they have the authority to pull up young boys on the road when they're actually doing wrong or going down the path. Just like when you were pulled aside the time when you guys were going to the Tront, when the guy drove up in the BMW and said, "Go back to school," all of you guys. You guys instantly react. As you said, Herbert, that can't happen today. Does that happen today?
No, no.
Yeah. You know. So what about you, Herbert?
Yeah.
Growing up in Jamaica. I know you're a bad boy
Well,
and stuff like that.
I I guess my path was set because I knew from early that I wanted to join the police force.
Mm.
So much so that I was a resident in the police station at Poros. So
You're born in the police station, man.
so after I left high school, because I went to a boarding school in Canada and Gava myself,
Okay.
like greatest school in Jamaica for me, and I became the president of the police youth club.
Mm.
So my father and my mother in Poros, everybody knew them. Between them, six sons and one daughter,
Yes.
and I can't remember we stepping out of line because if one don't catch us, the other one will,
Yes.
and it's not going to be nice. So I grew up among older men, started playing cricket from I was about 11 years old
Mm.
because of the influence that I had. So when I joined the police force, I think more people was more people were happier for me than I for myself.
Yes.
And I remember one police officer said that if I didn't join the police force, he would have been disappointed.
Mm.
And
Yes.
back then there was no telephone, so anything happened and your parents hear, you're like, how did they hear and there's no telephone around?
Yes.
But that was the nature of the community where the village was involved and your success was their success.
Mm.
No, it's completely different.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. So you see, so is it like what my mother said one time when I went to Jamaica and I went on one evening? She says, "Seymour, Jamaica not the same as before. Is it that the
No,
world
it's
is not
not.
the same as before? You know?"
It's not.
Mm.
It's not. Because
Yeah.
when you have parents and children meeting up in the same nightclub, you know something is fundamentally wrong.
Parents and children meeting up at the nightclub.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 Thanks for that, Gary. What's your take, Gary? I'm not saying you're a bad boy from long time.
Saved by grace.
Yes, man. Still by grace. I mean, I could probably say the same thing about the guy about the gentleman that said about you, Herbert, that if you weren't a police officer, then he would be disappointed. Well, somebody could say if I wasn't a minister, then they would be disappointed too. But the thing about it, though, I mean, I think what is quite evident, what is very evident here, is that somewhere in the years of our lives, and that's myself, you Herbert, you Sylbert, and Keret, that there was either a parent or parents that had discipline. I think that's quite evident.
Yes.
And I could say the same thing like all three of you have said. I couldn't walk on the street with a patty, not even a patty. I walked down the street with it. I couldn't do that. And my mom, especially my mother, here I'm walking on the street with a patty, coming home. I mean, when I get home, probably I regurgitate the patty. No, but the thing about it is that, you see, they had discipline and we knew the discipline that they had. And there was some respect there, even though we probably thought, yeah, man, I mean, boy, I can't wait to grow up, or I can't wait to leave home, or I can't wait for this, or I can't. But yet still the thing about it, when we did leave home, what kept us? And what have we repeated for our own children? Isn't it the same discipline?
Yes.
And we have not come off any worse, and our children have not come off any worse either, because we can be very proud of them. They've gone to universities, they've come out with their degrees, they've got their jobs. We're not having to run down to the police station for the son, and we're not having to go to the hospital, down to the morgue to look at a daughter or a son either, because discipline has really kept us. Not only the grace of God, which is very important, but we've listened to wholesome discipline that's come from our parents. And I believe that this generation, these parents of today, they need, it's only God. That's all I can say. There's no town meeting, there's no vigil.
No
And in as
demonstration.
much as these things on demonstration, even though, yes, my heart goes out to the mother and the father of this 15-year-old that's lost her life needlessly, and my condolences go out to the family, man. I mean, I haven't got any daughters that's that age now, but my heart pains. It really pains to know that a life as young as that has gone. But there is nothing that can ever stem the violence that's going to happen or is happening on the streets unless God either steps in or something happens, because it's going to get out of control. And somebody said, I think it was Keret or Herbert, who said it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. So it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
You mentioned a point, Gary, and you said only God, and I think I'll sort of add to that, only persons, well, not only persons, but God mentality, God fearing persons to go into these areas, which needs a touch and a change. Because I asked a question earlier. Well, it's a bit dark. I asked a question earlier about what was it like growing up, and I also have got to give the example, because growing up in Jamaica, one was under subjection with your parents. You couldn't go out anywhere. When your father said no, that's it. You can't go nowhere. When him say no, you can't. Unless you wait until he's on the toilet and he says something, and you just quickly dash out fast. Once he says no, that's it. You don't go. And if I go out, my mother would be sleeping in my bed waiting for me to come in, because she can't sleep until I reach it. That's the level of our thing.
Right.
And I remember even in Ocherius, I knew Jack Ruby, Fat Jaw Operator, and all these guys. but they looked after the young boys. Them they looked after us, not to mess us around, not to, but to take care of us while walking through Orchards. You know, and those were the days I remember. Andy Chin and all those guys, Jugs and everything. Yeah, you could be influenced into everything, but there was something which was instilled in the people around you. That was a community. That was a community. And I believe somehow, if we have that mentality and we are thinking so now as elders, we have to somehow bring that back. Because guess what? More children are coming. We're gonna have grandchildren soon, and they're gonna look up and say, "What did you guys do?" So
I think two
yeah,
things, that I'm picking up from this.
yeah,
As children, we were guided by the deterrence theory,
yeah,
right? The generation now, I think we have labeled them so much that they've fallen prey to the labeling theory,
yes,
right? So we need to strike a balance, because for me, I think the poorest community was looking at me so much that I didn't want to do anything to disappoint them,
yes,
right? And it wasn't until about 2 years ago when I started to read this criminological theories book in one of my classes. I
yes,
understand why, right?
mm,
Until we can find ourselves by looking at find positive role models, not the man with the 15 children or 20 children with 15 different baby mothers, but a man who is in a relationship with his family at
mm,
home, right? You can use those people as role models and say, I would like to be like him, not
mm,
like the man with 15 children, right? We
yes,
won't be getting past where we are right now.
yes, yes. Well, guys, listen. Um, I think what we have take out of this is that we all have a responsibility to play a part to play in this whole cycle, and we do hope it not become a cycle of defeat, but a cycle of some positive things that can take place. And we just hope that other people listen to this and other men are speaking about this as well. And the condolences to the young people who passed away in Brixton, in Tottenham, I heard, in Croydon as well. And I'm not going to say for more to come, but it's a reality which is before us. But before I go, I just want to have a last word from Herbert and Kerite. Any last word you guys have to say, as for in speaking to young men or to families, especially parents, if
I
I go ahead, Herbert. Yeah.
I
Oh,
think we should be more receptive to speaking with parents.
yes.
I think it's becoming a too commonplace when parents are burying their children. It should be
Yeah.
the other way around. And I think they're too happy to bury their children. So
Mm.
we need to step in and see what we can do to stop that trend.
And reverse that cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And Kerite, a last word, sir.
Well, mine is a footballing analogy. If you're playing a game of football and you happen to be losing at 2-0 at halftime, you've got to, when you have your halftime pep talk, you've got to try and stem the rot first of all, try and slow down. If this
Mm.
team is scoring goals passing like that, you have to strengthen your defense and then maybe
Yes.
catch them on the counter. We have to do something very similar. We have to look at
Mm.
where the problem is and try and stem it, staunch the bleeding, pardon the pun. You have to do that first and then try and see if we can't tackle the problem because it's not going to happen overnight, unfortunately. As I think,
Yeah.
believe it was you that said it, or
Mm.
Herbert, it's not going to, unfortunately, this is not the last one. but we have to start from somewhere. We have to make a start on this.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's going to take the village to make a start on it. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether they come from
So we got
Africa or
the village has got to be resurrected. Yeah.
yeah. We have to stick together as one people, because the ones that are dying are not just ones with West Indian parents. They're from they're just black people, because everybody's British and they've got that kind of mentality and that kind of attitude, and you know, that's what's happening. So we have to come together and, you know, make a stand. Yeah. That's where we need to make a stand. That's the reason why we need to bang drums and protest for that first before anything else.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. And Garry, even though I sense you echoing some of the things which you all have been saying at the same time.
Yes. I mean, what Herbert and Carrot has said, I strongly believe and support what they have said. And I think in a nutshell, it's that it's got to start from the home. Our parents, these parents need to make a stand in the home. It has to. And it may be frightening for some, because they just don't know the reaction that's going to come from the son or from the daughter. But they need to make a stand to let them know that whatever they're going on with on the streets and what's happening out there, don't bring it in the home. And there's consequences. There are consequences to the actions that they do. But sadly, I don't think many parents are going to take that up. And again, as Kerita said, it's going to happen again. Another young life, whether it be a son or a daughter, is going to be taken. Sadly. But we can only but try.
Yes.
We can only but try.
Yeah.
We can only but try.
Thank you, Garry. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight. For those who have joined, those on TikTok, those on Facebook, those on YouTube, and those on Instagram as well. Marie, John, and different persons, Jacqueline, Sonia. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on. And interesting comments that you have made, Mr. African Diaspora Business, and it's very important that we hear different sides. You said God now go help us, and you said that's the reparation is the way forward as well. Central inspiration. Thank you so much, Michelle, as usual, and for those on TikTok, I want to thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining tonight. Remember to like and subscribe, and make sure you also tune in to the discussion that I had with Minister of Industry and Commerce, Senator Auburn Hill, in unlocking business opportunities between the UK and Jamaica when he passed through last week. And it's going to be it was a short interview, but it's very good because I believe that it's very important that you also look at some of the developments with Jamaica at the same time. There are many factors or many facets of Jamaica. I know that we all know, but we can't just focus on the political thing, because I tell you what, whichever politician is in and whichever government is in, the business element will still continue right through. You're right. I'm sure you've been through many governments, isn't it? You still have to go through the business, isn't it? Can't stop.
Same way. You can't stop. You have to keep it moving.
Keep it moving. And also the watching later the interview with Minister Edmund Bartlett, which I catch up with him in London as well. That's also as well. And Saturday night, Talk and Sip, we'll see if we can get some more of the persons who traveled with Minister and who came to the UK as well, and with the investment aspect. So yes, so want to thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night. God bless you, guys. Herbert,
good evening.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Garry, you guys stay there. Don't move. I'll just finish, but you guys stay there.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, have a good night. God bless you. Bye bye.